because the other values. So in that, from that viewpoint, sometimes I feel the little difficulties regarding material. I think good to remind there is limitation. Therefore, also total hope or total expectation, just relying on money or matter, and you get sooner or later you get some problem. And many years ago, one time in my visit to Japan, I expressed, at that time, the Japanese economy is very smoothly, very rapidly increasing. At that time, I expressed, so this sort of growth may not be always like that. So anyway, there is limitation. So once you reach a certain level, then no longer much of development. And if you too much expectation, or you take for granted this kind of situation, then you will face a lot of problem. So it is better to prepare in mind, there is limitation. So then afterward, after one occasion, then the Japanese economy, little sort of problems started. Then another occasion I visit there, then my friend, some economist, I think the businessmen, then they appreciate about my view. So like that. That I feel. Otherwise, I don't know. And perhaps, I think, now here, one thing I want to share with you is, the market-oriented economy. Sometimes the people say the force of market force looks something beyond human power. But at the same time, the market force itself is human creation. So something human created, but at the same time beyond human control. So that's a little, puzzle. So then one time, I think last year, I asked my Italian friend, who is a businessman, and also have some business work in China also. And I asked him, what is the cause? What is the reality? Then he mentioned the present, one causes of present sort of crisis. He mentioned too much greed. With that, speculation without sort of knowing certain, but just speculation. And not transparent. Hypocrisy. Lies also. He mentioned these are the sources of this problem. Then I thought, now money matter also related with truthful, honesty, transparent. So that related with moral ethics. If you carry economic work or business work, honestly, transparent, realistic, then this kind of things may not happen at big scale. So that I know, but otherwise I don't know. I think the audience maybe know much better. I don't know.
Your Holiness, when I had finished my 5 years as UN High Commissioner and came here to New York, I established a very small initiative with a very fancy name, the Ethical Globalization Initiative. And then we actually realized that that was a bit too pompous. So instead we called it Realizing Rights. And we meant that in two senses. that because of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that every government has accepted, that everybody has a birthright of human rights. So everybody has a birthright.
Birthright. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So everybody should realize they
yeah.
have human rights. And then the second meaning of the word realize means to implement, to make it happen. So that those with power should make it happen. But what I'd love to ask you, and I think you've touched on it already, is how would you see an ethical globalization, given that we've had this financial huge crisis because of greed and because of hypocrisy, as you said? How do we get to a more ethical, fairer globalization?
So any human activities, even warfare or anything, is carried with honesty, truthful, open, transparent, then I think trust can develop or maintain. With trust, I think work may go smoothly. That I feel, even religious person, when I give teaching, I simply, truthfully, I never pretend I have some sort of special sort of experience or something like that. So in every field, truthful, honest, that I think very, very important. Even animal, our contact or our relation with animal, dogs or cats, or too small animal, I don't know. I always the curiosity, the mosquitoes and some fly, whether they have the ability to show appreciation of others' kindness. So what level of brain have the ability to appreciate? The dogs and cats, yes, naturally. And I think birds also. Of course, it may take a little bit sort of waste of time, but I have one story that often I tell. I think some of you, I think, already heard. When I was young, I think teenage, teenage, one small parrot. So one a monk, sort of tendency, monk official, who also taught me writing Tibetan. So he always feeding that small parrot whenever he come. So the parrot, when that person's even the sound of walk, footsteps, because the parrot is showing something really sort of nice way. And then actually you see feeding, and somewhere with the eyes very nice and something. Then that official is also his finger goes the parrot's kind of head like that. Then I developed some jealousy. I also see one is that kind of attitude from that parrot. So few occasions because I give some nuts, but you see the parrot takes nut, never show the friendly attitude. Then eventually I use one still a small stick, a little punishment. That's end of our relation.
I've heard about the carrot and stick, but never before the parrot and stick.